All right, guys, I have a present for you today. I'm going to help you smell good and save you money while you're doing it. So just thank me later. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service, and they are totally reimagining everything about how people shop, discover, purchase, and even experience the entire fragrance game. No more department stores just like spraying you and getting you in the eye as you're walking through. Scentbird is a place to express yourself through fragrance while discovering your style and truly building a fragrance collection of your own, which I'm really thankful for because I remember back in high school, there were like 2 perfumes that I wore. It was either Vanilla Fields or Design. And girls, if you ever wore it, you know what I'm talking about. It is a very identifiable scent. And don't even get me started on Cucumber Melon Body Mist. And luckily, Scentbird lets you choose a new designer fragrance to try every single month for just $16. And you don't just get whatever they give you. You get to pick what you want to receive every single month. They have both perfumes and clones and tons of unisex options as well. And with such a massive choice of scents, you can really discover either your favorite signature scent that you're gonna wear every day, or be like me and switch it up all the time. And if you are just completely unsure of where to begin, that is okay, because you can take a simple quiz on the website and Scentbird will actually help you find the fragrances that you will love. They carry top designers like Prada, Gucci, and Versace, as well as niche brands like Skylar. And with bottles of perfume costing anywhere from $150 to sometimes $500, I love that you can try a 30-day supply of these perfumes without committing to the full bottle up front, because you know I am trying to save my coins. This month, I received Dolce & Gabbana Dolce, which basically just smells like a fresh spring day with notes of lily and papaya. And I also received Malin Goat's Bergamot, which I'm probably saying that completely wrong. It's a little bit more sexy with fruity notes like mandarin and grapefruit mixed in, so kind of feels a little bit spicier. And just look at these vials, guys. It is a full 30-day supply, not those tiny little micro skinny samples that you get in the store. This is 8 times bigger. Now, I am just obsessed with Dolce because it just feels so light and airy and perfect for this time of year. But you can see the full description of all of the scents that I chose using the fragrance links in my description box below. And also make sure to use my coupon code 10tolife55 for 55% off. That brings it to just $7 for your first month. This isn't just in the US, guys. Canada, we got you covered too. Thank you, Scentbird, for sponsoring today's video, for keeping me smelling nice and good. And guys, go check out those links below. Your nostrils will thank you later. I promise you that. Now let's get into today's case. Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is 10 to Life, where we are talking all things true crime. If you are brand new and you have never checked out this channel before or listened to this podcast before, I hope you enjoy today's coverage and enjoy, what I have to say and how I cover these cases. And if you do, and if you want to support the channel, don't forget, you can always hit that subscribe button below. That way you will stay notified of upcoming case videos and podcasts as I post them regarding new cases and as we follow current cases. And for all of you returning 10 to Lifers, welcome back. As always, I am so happy to have you guys joining me today. As always, if you are listening to the podcast version of this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but you want to turn into the video version of this case to see footage, photos, and things of that nature, head on over to YouTube at 10 to Life. The case we are going to be talking about today is one that many of you guys have been asking me to cover in the last couple of days. And I think the primary reason you have been requesting it is because not many people are covering it. And the reason not many people are covering it, in my opinion, is just because of the details. As I was going through these case details and information and the affidavits, I myself questioned if I was going to cover it. Many of you guys know, and if you're a listener, you know. If you're brand new, you don't know this. I have a 7-month-old daughter and I have a 2.5-year-old little boy. I cover cases like this all the time, unfortunately, and in a way you can compartmentalize. You are almost desensitized to certain things. Today's case is one that I'm not able to necessarily detach myself from in that way. And I hope and I pray that I can get through this with you guys without getting too emotional. Thank goodness for editing. I'll be able to edit things out here and there, but it's a tough one. But as I was saying, I almost didn't cover it, but I've said before here, the reason that we cover this is to ultimately be a voice for the victims and to bring justice to those who have wronged them and to hold the people accountable who need to be held accountable. And if I did not cover this case, like so many are choosing not to, it would be one more victim who is left voiceless. And so it's important to me, and I know it's important to a lot of you, that we, stomach through it and bring awareness and talk about it. On Thursday, April 28th at 1:45 a.m., a disturbing 911 call was made by an employee of the Grand Prairie Motel located in Oklahoma. The caller informed dispatch that a little girl had been found face down in the motel swimming pool and that this little girl was believed to be dead. The dispatcher proceeded to give CPR instructions, but the caller stated that someone already had been working on this little girl and that she was now blue, and it seemed to be too late. Later, that little girl in the pool would be identified as 2-year-old Caliyah Guyton. But how did Caliyah end up in this pool that night, face down and now dead? And who would be held responsible for this? Guys, let's get right into it.
Tend to Life with Elise starts right now.
Caliyah Guyton was a blonde, bright-eyed 2-year-old little girl. She loved Baby Shark, Minnie Mouse, animals, and had a smile that would light up any single room. Caliyah had been living in the Grand Prairie Motel with her parents Chelsea and Cody, as well as her grandparents, in a town called Enid, and I hope I'm saying that right, but Enid is in Garfield County, located in northeastern Oklahoma. The family shared one room at the Grand Prairie, and Caliyah loved to go swimming at the pool on the motel grounds. Well, on Wednesday, April 27th, Caliyah woke up and went to breakfast with her grandmother, Jeannie. When the pair returned to the motel room, the rest of their family, Caliyah's mother, Chelsea, her father, Cody, and her grandfather, Charlie, were all awake. Jeannie started getting ready and then headed out for work for the day. Charlie needed to get some ice, so he took 2-year-old Caliyah with him to the area that has the vending and the ice machines. When they got there, there was a tall white man standing there who approached them and asked if Caliyah would like some candy or some chips. Grandpa Charlie told Caliyah that it was okay, and she accepted the snacks from this man. After that, the man said, "God bless you," turned and walked away. And unfortunately, what seemed to be a kind gesture from a friendly stranger would actually be a grooming technique that was used by an evil and twisted predator. When Charlie and Caliyah returned to the family's room, the four decided to go to a couple of stores, run some errands, pick up some groceries, and grab some supplies that they needed. So after shopping and returning with their groceries, the family spent the rest of the afternoon at the motel pool. While at the pool, Caliyah and her mother Chelsea played and swam together, and her father Cody and her grandpa Charlie were off to the side of the pool talking with another man who was hanging out in the pool area. And it was the same man that had given Caliyah snacks earlier that day by the vending machine. The man who introduced himself as Michael was wearing orange shorts, bald, and covered in what is being described as prison tats. He told them that he had been hired on by the motel to do some plumbing and that the motel was actually providing him with a couple of rooms as he was doing this work. Grandpa Charlie was getting tired and decided to go back to the room to lay down and rest for the rest of the afternoon, while the rest of the family decided to stay at the pool. They were swimming, having fun, and talking to Michael. As the day turned to early evening, Caliyah was getting tired from being out all day, which is totally typical for a 2-year-old. She is, out in the sun all day swimming. Of course, she is zonked out. So Cody and Chelsea decided to take her back to the family's room to wind down and then get ready for bed. Before they left, they had made plans, though, to meet back up with Michael, their new friend, later that night. Michael had shared his room number with the two parents, and they parted ways and planned to meet up later. So in the family room, Grandpa Charlie was laying on his bed, and Cody, Chelsea, and Caliyah all got into the other bed that they shared. And Charlie said as he was in bed falling asleep, it appeared that Caliyah and her parents were also getting ready to go to sleep as well. However, sometime later, he was awakened to the sound of the family's dog barking and by the grandmother, Jeannie, returning back from work. So it was around approximately 11:30 p.m., and Jeannie noticed that the door was ajar and that Caliyah was not in bed. And she found this to be odd because Cody and Chelsea usually didn't take Caliyah with them if they were going to be out late. So Jeannie asked Charlie where baby Caliyah was, but Charlie says that he didn't know. So the both of them figured that she had to have gone with her parents, so Jeannie went on to jump in the shower, take a shower, and get ready for bed. Earlier that night, after Charlie had fallen asleep, Chelsea, Cody, and Caliyah were all laying in bed, and Cody and Chelsea were laying with their daughter waiting for her to fall asleep. And when she was fully rested, apparently the couple left to go out of their room and go meet up with their new friend Michael that they had met earlier that day. And it's written in the affidavit that in Michael's room, it was evident that the three of them hung out there, drank alcohol, and took drug substances. It starts with an M and it rhymes with Seth. I can't say it on YouTube because they'll probably flag me. However, during that hangout where they're all drinking, hanging out together, doing some drugs, apparently, Michael made several bizarre comments to Cody. In one comment particularly, Michael said something like, "Your daughter is so beautiful, but she's too young for me." Now, at that point, I think that most parents would decide to leave the place altogether. If a grown man is making an insinuating comment about your 2-year-old daughter in such a way, you 100% will leave. You actually probably would punch this person square in the face. At the very least, you would leave. But Cody and Chelsea didn't leave. And I can't help but wonder if they were frequent users of this drug and they were being supplied with party favors. Is that why they overlooked these comments and stuck around? And then in another bizarre turn of events, Michael told Cody and Chelsea that he would pay them $4,000 if Cody would let Michael have Chelsea for 24 hours. So the two declined, but said that they did know a woman who they could get to come and hang out with him. So Chelsea steps out to give this prospective girl a call, and disgustingly, Michael ends up telling Cody that he's going to go into the other room to service himself. So then when Chelsea comes back after taking that phone call, they knock on this door to let Michael know what the outcome was, and he answers and opens the door fully naked. Now at this point, I can't really excuse them associating with this man any further. Not that I really ever could. They were willing to go and get this friend of theirs for this man who was willing to pay them $4,000. He made a very weird and inappropriate comment about their 2-year-old daughter. He's now opening up his door fully butt naked. It's weird. There are a lot of red flags going off. But in any event, Chelsea and Cody tell Michael that their friend agreed to come over. So they say, our friend accepted the invitation and we're going to go and pick her up. So Cody and Chelsea arrived at the friend's house, whose name has now been redacted from the affidavit, and spent a while there hanging out before returning with her to the motel. When the three returned to the motel, they knocked on both of Michael's doors, but there was no answer. Now this is where there start to be some inconsistencies in the statements made by Caliyah's family. Because Jeannie makes a statement that she was awoken by Cody pounding on the door screaming, "Where is my daughter?" But this differs from Cody's statement that he and Chelsea and their friend start walking around the motel looking for Michael and then discover Caliyah face down in the pool. And this detail may not sound like it really matters, but it will, and we're going to get there soon. When Cody pulled his 2-year-old daughter Caliyah from the pool after being face down, he noticed that she had a pair of orange shorts wrapped around her neck and apparently started attempting to administer CPR. Chelsea was screaming, and it ended up getting the attention of the employees of the motel who make that 911 call.
Is that her baby? Please, somebody please come. Somebody come now. Please. Okay, where are you at? Oh my God, I'm at the Grand Prairie Hotel. And it's a little girl that is in the pool. She's drowned. This lady and these two people just came down looking for her. And she was in the pool and she's drowned. Please send somebody right now. Oh God, she's blue. Oh, God, please send somebody right now, ma'am. Well, help is on the way to you. I'm going to give you instructions on how to do CPR. CPR, but I got to tell you, I think this baby's gone because the face is blue, the extremities is blue, the baby was not moving.
When ambulances arrived, they rushed little Caliyah's lifeless blue body to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. It was stated that her body had evidence of SA and specifically RAPE, as well as other abuse. She had one pink earring in her ear and the other one appeared to be missing. When authorities arrived, they asked Chelsea and Cody who they thought could have done this to their 2-year-old daughter, and only one person came to mind, and that person was Michael. They told detectives about their interactions with him earlier that day. They explained that they had waited for Caliyah to fall asleep and then they went to go and hang out in Michael's room. They even told the police about how they went to go and get their adult friend to accompany Michael. And they even told them about the comment that Michael had made about Caliyah and about being naked and opening the door when they returned. And employees of the motel told police that they had actually seen Michael in the lobby acting strange and having a panicked look on his face. A maintenance worker stated he saw Michael leaving his room with a white pillowcase or blanket and what looked like a doll. Police now needed to hunt down Michael and figure out what the heck happened. While police ensued on the search for Michael, others worked on finding out everything they possibly could about him. With information provided by the motel, it was discovered that the man's full name was Michael Geiger, and Michael had just been released from prison just 1 month prior on March 29th. He had been in prison for 10 years on charges of kidnapping. Officers scoured the hotel, and after retrieving the shorts around Caliyah's neck, 2 room keys were located inside the pocket, as well as a wad of cash. The keys opened the doors to the rooms that Michael was occupying. Inside the room was an extremely disturbing scene. There was blood all over the room, but mostly on the bed. Placed on the bed were gummy worms, said to be arranged in a way that didn't appear to have been accidentally spilled. There were also apple juice bottles, consistent with some that were missing from a pack that was located in Caliyah's family's room. There was little girl's clothing, as well as a pair of blood-stained children's underwear with a Baby Shark logo on the front on the floor. On the TV, the channel was turned to a cartoon program, and it was facing the bed that had the candy all over it. An officer stated it appeared that the room was set up to lure or entice a child. A pink earring matching the one that was in Caliyah's ear and that was missing out of the other one was found stuck in blood on the side of the bed. In an affidavit, something referred to as an at-home made fleshlight, which is used for self-servicing, was found with blood and male fluid inside. 7 hours later, police discovered Michael on top of a building close to the motel. Near him were gloves and a white pillowcase stained with blood. He was taken into custody, and while being questioned, Michael admitted to spending time with the couple. He admitted to self-servicing himself and being naked. He also admitted to meeting Caliyah at the pool. But when asked about the orange shorts that were around Caliyah's neck, matching shorts that he was seen in earlier that day, he said that he has a lot of shorts. And when they asked him about the scene in his motel room, he stated that a lot of people are constantly in and out of his room. Yet this was refuted by motel staff and by surveillance. Michael is currently being held without bond and is charged with felony counts of first-degree murder, first-degree RAPE, kidnapping, and first-degree burglary. His next court date is scheduled for June 5th at 1:15 p.m. Now, this case brings up a lot of questions. I mean, a lot of questions, guys. One of the main questions that I have and that I think we all need to be asking is how was Michael able to get a job at this motel where families stay, considering his background and his criminal history? Wouldn't he have been on parole? So, shouldn't there have been check-ins from his parole officer? But even more than that, if they were checking in and doing routine drug tests, how was he able to get away with drug use and not being monitored just 1 month after his release. It also didn't really seem like Michael cared about staying out of prison because he was doing something that would throw him right back inside. Members of the community have been posting concerns that the parents possibly knew more than what they have been saying to police, and statements made in the affidavit have me questioning this as well. Cody and Chelsea say that they had left Caliyah in their motel room asleep. But if they were under the assumption that she was asleep, why did the grandmother Jeannie state that Cody came back banging on the door asking where Caliyah was? That sounds more like a reaction in line with a father who just discovered a heinous crime scene in the room where he last saw his daughter. It's assumed that Michael entered the family's motel room when the parents were gone and when Grandpa Charlie was asleep. But the affidavit says that there were only 2 keys to the family's motel room and that both keys were accounted for. So how did Michael gain access to the room? How would he be able to enter, grab apple juices from the pack that was located in the room, and get Caliyah, all without waking up Grandpa Charlie or waking up the dogs? Also, who would have opened the door? Maybe Caliyah could have woken up and opened the door, but I highly doubt she could have done that without waking the dogs and without waking up her grandfather. So could it be that Chelsea and Cody actually brought Caliyah with them to Michael's room that night when they were going to hang out and drink with him? And maybe they packed up the juice with them so she would have something to drink. And then perhaps when they were going to go and retrieve their friend, maybe they left Caliyah with him to watch her while they went to pick her up. Or could it have been that rather than willingly leaving her, maybe Caliyah had fallen asleep in his room and they didn't want to wake her, so that's why they left her behind while they picked up the friend? Or could it have been something much more sinister, and that's something that the parents perhaps were in on? Could the $4,000 have not been for their friend, but have been for Caliyah? Chelsea and Cody both have extensive records themselves. Cody was arrested in the past for armed robbery, where one victim obtained injuries and went to the hospital. He's also had drug charges in the past and has been known to affiliate with people who are associated with that same drug that they were abusing earlier that night. And in a now deleted Facebook post, Cody stated that he effed up and failed his little girl. He stated that no drugs or alcohol were consumed, but the affidavit says different. And what exactly did he mean by he effed up? He says that he should have been there for her. But if Caliyah was just asleep like he's saying that she was and was locked inside her room with her grandfather, why would he say he effed up? Is it because he and Chelsea actually made the mistake of bringing Caliyah with them to Michael's room, or made the mistake of leaving Caliyah in Michael's room, or making the mistake of allowing Michael to have unsupervised time with Caliyah? In the affidavit, Cody says he made sure that the door was locked when he left Caliyah in their room. But I can't help but wonder if substances such as meth and alcohol could impair his memory or their judgment. So many different things. And the Grand Prairie Motel is known by locals as being a place where there is alleged sex, trafficking, I can't say it on here, as well as heavy drug use. So it doesn't sound in general like a great place for a child. So did Cody F up by not securing the door where his little girl slept, knowing the motel wasn't the safest and was kind of filled with these seedy people? Could CPR have worked on her if the parents weren't so impaired? And I don't ever want to put blame on grieving parents who just lost a child. But there are a lot of parts in this story and in this case that just do not add up and that just seem highly, highly questionable. It seems like Caliyah's parents had warning signs about Michael throughout the entire day, especially after he made comments about her saying, "She's too young for me." It's just bizarre because they continued to party with this man, and then at some point throughout the evening, he gained access to Caliyah. Also, the grandmother returned around 11:30 at night that evening, and Caliyah was not in the room when she returned. The 911 call was not made until after 1. That's giving approximately a 2-hour window. If Caliyah was not with her parents in Michael's room, as they're saying, that means that she would have had to wander off somewhere else in that 2-hour window, or even an hour window, I guess, just playing conservatively here, then they happen to go out to pick up the friend at the same time, and then Michael gets his hands on her. It doesn't make sense. It seems much more likely, in my opinion at least, that they brought Caliyah to his room when they went to go party, and then either left her with him when they went to pick up the friend, or the friend story was just a ruse, and they left Caliyah with him for the $4,000. There has been an outpouring of love from the community for 2-year-old baby Caliyah. People from the community also have stated that at Caliyah's vigil, Cody and Chelsea were not showing signs consistent with being a grieving parent. Apparently, they didn't have a hand in planning the vigil at all, and witnesses said that they were even acting volatile towards the people who were involved in setting up the event. And one woman who attended the vigil stated that it appeared these parents had no emotions and no tears in their eyes. Regardless, so many people turned up to show support and love for this 2-year-old little girl. Another thing that does not sit right with me about this is the family has set up a GoFundMe. Now, while sure, they may need financial assistance for a proper service or a burial, whatever it may be, because perhaps times are tough and that's why they were living in the motel to begin with. I don't know. There's something here that isn't sitting right with me, guys. I want to know what you think about this, and I can't tell if it's because I'm a little blinded because I have kids around that age of my own, but something is pulling me and saying that there's more to this story, and I want to know what you guys think. So for now, that's going to be it for this case coverage. Yet I'm going to be keeping track of the trial and new information as it emerges because I want to follow this case very closely. I think it's safe to say that the evidence is definitely stacked up against Michael, and I don't think that there's any way he's going to get out of this. But the suffering that this little girl endured is truly unfathomable and just brutal and heartbreaking. So I'm hoping and I'm praying that justice will be served to him and anybody else, for that matter, who had any sort of involvement or any sort of tie in what happened to this little baby girl, because it is just the sickest of the sick. These are the ones that stick with you guys. And again, I appreciate you sticking with me as I shared this case with you. I know I got a little bit emotional in it, and I'm sure you guys did as well. But again, this is why we do it, because it's so uncomfortable that people don't want to talk about it. But that's how it loses her voice. And that's how people do not get held accountable when they should. The evil people in play in this case have to be held responsible, and they have to be held accountable. So please help me with that. Leave a comment. It helps the algorithm. Like this video, share this video, get this video out there, because that is going to help. It's going to help apply pressure. It's going to help generate awareness. And ultimately, it is going to help get justice and hold these monsters accountable. So please help me in that. And let me know too in the comments below what you guys think. Do you think the parents are involved more than they're letting on? Do you think they made a deal with Michael for that $4,000? What do you think their role is in this? I'm curious to know. I, of course, have my theories, but I want to hear yours. Thanks for tuning in with me today, guys. I hope you appreciate the coverage. Please don't forget to leave your comments, hit the thumbs up, rate this episode if you're listening to the podcast version. And as always, stay safe and keep your loved ones close. All right, guys, until the next case, stay safe. Bye.